First Shemuel, First Samuel. Chapter 1. Now there was a certain man of Ramathaim, Tzophim, of Mount Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Yeracham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Tzuph, and Ephrathi. And he had 2 wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. And this man went up out of his city yearly to worship and to sacrifice unto Yahuah of hosts in Shiloh. And the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, the Kohen of Yahuah, were there. And when the time was that Elkanah offered, he gave to Peninnah his wife, and to all her sons and her daughters portions. But unto Hannah he gave a worthy portion, for he loved Hannah, but Yahuah had shut up her womb. And her adversary also provoked her sore, for to make her fret, because Yahuah had shut up her womb. And as he did so year by year, when she went up to the house of Yahuah, so she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat. Then said Elkanah her husband to her, Hannah, why weep you? And why eat you not? And why is your heart grieved? Am I not better to you than 10 sons? So Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh, and after they had drunk. Now Eli the Kohen sat upon a seat by a post of the temple of Yahuah. And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto Yahuah, and wept sore. And she vowed a vow, and said, O Yahuah of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your handmaid, and remember me, and not forget your handmaid, but will give unto your handmaid a man-child, then I will give him unto Yahuah all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. And it came to pass, as she continued praying before Yahuah, that Eli marked her mouth. Now Hannah, she spoke in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she had been drunken. And Eli said unto her, How long will you be drunken? Put away your wine from you. And Hannah answered and said, No, my lord, I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before Yahuah. Count not your handmaid for a daughter of Belial, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief have I spoken hitherto. Then Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and the Elohim of Yasharel grant you your petition that you have asked of him. And she said, Let your handmaid find grace in your sight. So the woman went her way and did eat, and her countenance was no more sad. And they rose up in the morning early, and worshipped before Yahuah, and returned, and came to their house to Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and Yahuah remembered her. Wherefore it came to pass, when the time was come about after Hannah had conceived, that she bare a son, and called his name Shemuel, saying, Because I have asked him of Yahuah. And the man Elkanah and all his house went up to offer unto Yahuah the yearly sacrifice and his vow. But Hannah went not up, for she said unto her husband, I will not go up until the child is weaned, and then I will bring him, that he may appear before Yahuah, and there abide forever. And Elkanah her husband said unto her, Do what seems you good, tarry until you have weaned him. Only Yahuah establish his word. So the woman abode, and gave her son suck until she weaned him. And when she had weaned him, she took him up with her, with 3 bullocks, and 1 ephah of flour, and a bottle of wine, and brought him unto the house of Yahuah in Shiloh, and the child was young. And they slew a bullock, and brought the child to Eli. And she said, O my lord, as your soul lives, my lord, I am the woman that stood by you here, praying unto Yahuah. For this child I prayed, and Yahuah has given me my petition which I asked of him. Therefore also I have lent him to Yahuah. As long as he lives, he shall be lent to Yahuah. And he worshipped Yahuah there. Chapter 2. And Hannah prayed, and said, My heart rejoices in Yahuah. Mine horn is exalted in Yahuah. My mouth is enlarged over mine enemies, because I rejoice in your salvation. There is none holy as Yahuah, for there is none beside you, neither is there any rock like our Elohim. Talk no more so exceedingly proudly, let not arrogancy come out of your mouth, for Yahuah is an El of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. The bows of the mighty men are broken, and they that stumbled are girded with strength. They that were full have hired out themselves for bread, and they that were hungry ceased, so that the barren has borne 7, and she that has many children is waxed feeble. Yahuah kills and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and brings up. Yahuah makes poor and makes rich. He brings low and lifts up. He raises up the poor out of the dust and lifts up the beggar from the dunghill to set them among princes and to make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are Yahuah's, and he has set the world upon them. He will keep the feet of his saints, and the wicked shall be silent in darkness, for by strength shall no man prevail. The adversaries of Yahuah shall be broken to pieces. Out of the heaven shall he thunder upon them. Yahuah shall judge the ends of the earth, and he shall give strength unto his king, and shall exalt the horn of his Mashiach. And Elkanah went to Ramah to his house, and the child did minister unto Yahuah before Eli the Kohen. Now the sons of Eli were sons of Belial. They knew not Yahuah. And the Kohen's custom with the people was that when any man offered sacrifice, the Kohen's servant came, while the flesh was in seizing, with a flesh hook of 3 teeth in his hand. And he struck it into the pan, or kettle, or cauldron, or pot. All that the flesh hook brought up the Kohen took for himself. So they did in Shiloh unto all the Yasharel that came thither. Also, before they burnt the fat, the Kohen's servant came, and said to the man that sacrificed, Give flesh to roast for the Kohen, for he will not have sodden flesh of you, but raw. And if any man said unto him, Let them not fail to burn the fat presently, and then take as much as your soul desires, then he would answer him, Nay, but you shall give it me now, and if not, I will take it by force. Wherefore the sin of the young men was very great before Yahuah, for men abhorred the offering of Yahuah. But Shemuel ministered before Yahuah, being a child girded with a linen ephod. Moreover, his mother made him a little coat, and brought it to him from year to year, when she came up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. And Eli blessed Elkanah and his wife, and said, Yahuah give you seed of this woman for the loan which is lent to Yahuah. And they went unto their own home. And Yahuah visited Hannah, so that she conceived, and bare 3 sons and 2 daughters. And the child Shemuel grew before Yahuah. Now Eli was very old, and heard all that his sons did unto all Yasharel, and how they lay with the women that assembled at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he said unto them, Why do you do such things? For I hear of your evil dealings by all this people. Nay, my sons, for it is no good report that I hear. You make Yahuah's people to transgress. If one man sin against another, the judge shall judge him. But if a man sin against Yahuah, who shall entreat for him? Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto the voice of their father, because Yahuah would slay them. And the child Shemuel grew on, and was in favor both with Yahuah and also with men. And there came a man of Elohim unto Eli, and said unto him, Thus said Yahuah, Did I plainly appear unto the house of your father, and they were in Mitzrayim, in Pharaoh's house? And did I choose him out of all the tribes of Yasharel to be my Kohen, to offer upon mine altar, to burn incense, to wear an ephod before me? And did I give unto the house of your father all the offerings made by fire of the children of Yasharel? Wherefore kick you at my sacrifice, and at mine offering, which I have commanded in my habitation, and honor your sons above me, to make yourselves fat with the chiefest of all the offerings of Yasharel, my people? Wherefore Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel said, I said indeed that your house and the house of your father should walk before me forever. But now Yahuah said, Be it far from me, for them that honor me I will honor, and they that despise me shall be lightly esteemed. Behold, the days come that I will cut off your arm, and the arm of your father's house, and there shall not be an old man in your house. and you will look at the distress of my dwelling, in spite of all the good that I do for Yasharel, and there will never be an old man in your house. And the man of yours, whom I shall not cut off from mine altar, shall be to consume your eyes, and to grieve your heart, and all the increase of your house shall die in the flower of their age. And this shall be a sign unto you, that shall come upon your 2 sons, on Hophni and Phinehas. In one day they shall die, both of them. And I will raise up me a faithful Kohen, that shall do according to that which is in mine heart and in my mind. And I will build him a sure house, and he shall walk before mine Mashiach forever. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left in your house shall come and crouch to him for a piece of silver and a morsel of bread, and shall say, Put me, I pray you, into one of the Kohen's office, that I may eat a piece of bread. Chapter 3. And the child Shemuel ministered unto Yahuah before Eli, and the word of Yahuah was precious in those days. There was no open vision. And it came to pass at that time, when Eli was laid down in his place, and his eyes began to wax dim, that he could not see. And ere the lamp of Elohim went out in the temple of Yahuah, where the ark of Elohim was, that Shemuel was laid down to sleep, that Yahuah called Shemuel, and he answered, Here am I. And he ran unto Eli and said, Here am I, for you called me. And he said, I called not. Lie down again. And he went and lay down. Yahuah called yet again Shemuel. And Shemuel arose and went to Eli, and said, Here am I, for you did call me. And he answered, I called not, my son. Lie down again. Now Shemuel did not yet know Yahuah, neither was the word of Yahuah yet revealed unto him. And Yahuah called Shemuel again the 3rd time. And he arose and went to Eli, and said, Here am I, for you did call me. And Eli perceived that Yahuah had called the child. Therefore Eli said unto Shemuel, Go, lie down, and it shall be, if he call you, that you shall say, Speak, Yahuah, for your servant hears. So Shemuel went and lay down in his place. And Yahuah came and stood, and called as at other times, Shemuel, Shemuel. Then Shemuel answered, Speak, for your servant hears. And Yahuah said to Shemuel, Behold, I will do a thing in Yasharel, at which both the ears of every one that hears it shall tingle. In that day I will perform against Eli all things which I have spoken concerning his house. When I begin, I will also make an end. For I have told him that I will judge his house forever for the iniquity which he knows, because his sons made themselves vile, and he restrained them not. And therefore I have sworn unto the house of Eli, that the iniquity of Eli's house shall not be purged with the sacrifice nor offering forever. And Shemuel lay until the morning, and opened the doors of the house of Yahuah. And Shemuel feared to show Eli the vision. Then Eli called Shemuel, and said, Shemuel, my son. And he answered, Here am I. He said, What is the word that he spoke to you? I pray you hide it not from me. Elohim do so to you, and more also, if you hide anything from me of all the things that he said unto you. And Shemuel told him every whit, and hid nothing from him. And he said, It is Yahuah, let him do what seems him good. And Shemuel grew, and Yahuah was with him, and did let none of his words fall to the ground. And all Yasharel, from Dan even to Be'er Sheba, knew that Shemuel was established to be a prophet of Yahuah. And Yahuah appeared again in Shiloh, for Yahuah revealed himself to Shemuel in Shiloh by the word of Yahuah. Chapter 4. And the word of Shemuel came to all Yasharel. Now Yasharel went out against the Pelishti to battle, and pitched beside Eben Ha'azer, and the Pelishti pitched in Aphek. And the Pelishti put themselves in array against Yasharel. And when they joined battle, Yasharel was smitten before the Pelishti, and they slew of the army in the field about 4,000 men. And when the people were come into the camp, the elders of Yasharel said, Wherefore has Yahuah smitten us today before the Pelishti? Let us fetch the ark of the covenant of Yahuah out of Shiloh unto us, that when it comes among us it may save us out of the hand of our enemies. So the people sent to Shiloh that they might bring from thence the ark of the covenant of Yahuah of hosts, which dwells between the cherubims. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of Elohim. And when the ark of the covenant of Yahuah came into the camp, all Yasharel shouted with a great shout, so that the earth rang again. And when the Pelishti heard the noise of the shout, they said, "What means the noise of this great shout in the camp of the Ibri?" And they understood that the ark of Yahuah was come into the camp. And the Pelishti were afraid. And they said, "Elohim is come into the camp." And they said, "Woe unto us, for there has not been such a thing heretofore. Woe unto us! Who shall deliver us out of the hand of these mighty Elohim? These are the Elohim that smote the Mitzrayim with all the plagues in the wilderness. Be strong and quit yourselves like men, O you Pelishti, that you be not servants unto the Ibri, as they have been to you. Quit yourselves like men, and fight." And the Pelishti fought, and Yasharel was smitten. And they fled every man into his tent, and there was a very great slaughter, for there fell of Yasharel 30,000 footmen. And the ark of Elohim was taken, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were slain. And there ran a man of Benjamin out of the army, and came to Shiloh the same day, with his clothes rent, and with earth upon his head. And when he came, lo, Eli sat upon a seat by the wayside watching, for his heart trembled for the ark of Elohim. And when the man came into the city and told it, all the city cried out. And when Eli heard the noise of the crying, he said, "What means the noise of this tumult?" And the man came in hastily and told Eli. Now Eli was 98 years old, and his eyes were dim, that he could not see. And the man said unto Eli, "I am he that came out of the army, and I fled today out of the army." And he said, "What is there done, my son?" And the messenger answered and said, "Yasharel is fled before the Pelishti, and there has been also a great slaughter among the people. And your two sons also, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead, and the ark of Elohim is taken." And it came to pass, when he made mention of the ark of Elohim, that he fell from off the seat backward by the side of the gate, and his neck brake, and he died. For he was an old man and heavy, and he had judged Yasharel 40 years. And his daughter-in-law, Phinehas' wife, was with child, near to be delivered. And when she heard the tidings that the ark of Elohim was taken, and that her father-in-law and her husband were dead, she bowed herself and travailed, for her pains came upon her. And about the time of her death, the women that stood by her said unto her, "Fear not, for you have borne a son." But she answered not, neither did she regard it. And she named the child Kabod, saying, "The glory is departed from Yasharel, because the ark of Elohim was taken, and because of her father-in-law and her husband." And she said, "The glory is departed from Yasharel, for the ark of Elohim is taken." Chapter 5. And the Pelishti took the ark of Elohim, and brought it from Eben Ha'azer unto Ashdod. When the Pelishti took the ark of Elohim, they brought it into the house of Dagon, and set it by Dagon. And when they of Ashdod arose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon had fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of Yahuah. And they took Dagon, and set him in his place again. And when they arose early on the morrow morning, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the ground before the ark of Yahuah, and the head of Dagon and both the palms of his hand were cut off from the threshold. Only the stump of Dagon was left to him. Therefore neither the Kohen of Dagon nor any that come into Dagon's house tread on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod unto this day. But the hand of Yahuah was heavy upon them of Ashdod, and he destroyed them, and smote them with emerods, even Ashdod and the coast thereof. And when the men of Ashdod saw that it was so, they said, "The ark of Elohim of Yasharel shall not abide with us, for his hand is sore upon us, and upon Dagon our God." They sent therefore and gathered all the lords of the Pelishti unto them, and said, "What shall we do with the ark of Elohim of Yasharel?" And they answered, "Let the ark of the Elohim of Yasharel be carried about unto Gath." And they carried the ark of the Elohim of Yasharel about thither. And it was so that after they had carried it about, the hand of Yahuah was against the city with a very great destruction. And he smote the men of the city, both small and great, and they had emerods in their secret parts. Therefore they sent the ark of Elohim to Ekron, and it came to pass, as the ark of Elohim came to Ekron, that the Ekroni cried out, saying, They have brought about the ark of the Elohim of Yasharel to us, to slay us and our people. So they sent and gathered together all the lords of the Pelishti and said, Send away the ark of the Elohim of Yasharel, and let it go again to its own place, that it slay us not and our people. For there was a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of Elohim was very heavy there. And the men that died not were smitten with the emerods, and the cry of the city went up to heaven. Chapter 6. And the ark of Yahuah was in the country of the Pelishti 7 months. And the Pelishti called for the Kohen and the diviners, saying, What shall we do to the ark of Yahuah? Tell us wherewith we shall send it to his place. And they said, If you send away the ark of Elohim of Yasharel, send it not empty, but in any wise return him a trespass offering. Then you shall be healed, and it shall be known to you why his hand is not removed from you. Then said they, What shall be the trespass offering which we shall return to him? They answered, 5 golden emerods and 5 golden mice, according to the number of the lords of the Pelishti. For one plague was on you all, and on our lords. Wherefore you shall make images of your emerods, and images of your mice that mar the land. And you shall give glory unto the Elohim of Yasharel. Peradventure he will lighten his hand from off you, and from off your gods, and from off your land. Wherefore, then, do ye harden your hearts, as the Mitzrayim and Pharaoh hardened their hearts. When he had wrought wonderfully among them, did they not let the people go, and they departed? Now therefore make a new cart, and take 2 milk kines, on which there has come no yoke, and tie the kine to the cart, and bring their calves home from them. And take the ark of Yahuah, and lay it upon the cart, and put the jewels of gold, which you return him for a trespass offering, in a coffer by the side thereof, and send it away, that it may go. And see, if it goes up by the way of his own coast to Beth Shemesh, then he has done us this great evil. But if not, then we shall know that it is not his hand that smote us. It was a chance that happened to us. And the men did so, and took 2 milk kine, and tied them to the cart, and shut up their calves at home. And they laid the ark of Yahuah upon the cart, and the coffer with the mice of gold, and the images of their emerods. And the kine took the straight way to the way of Beth Shemesh, and went along the highway, lowing as they went, and turned not aside to the right hand or to the left. And the lords of the Pelishti went after them unto the border of Beth Shemesh. And they of Beth Shemesh were reaping their wheat harvest in the valley. And they lifted up their eyes, and saw the ark, and rejoiced to see it. And the cart came into the field of Yahusha, a Beth Hashemshi, and stood there where there was a great stone, and they clave the wood of the ark, and offered the kine a burnt offering unto Yahuah. And the Laoi took down the ark of Yahuah, and the coffer that was with it, wherein the jewels of gold were, and put them on the great stone. And the men of Beth Shemesh offered burnt offerings, and sacrificed sacrifices the same day unto Yahuah. And when the 5 lords of the Pelishti had seen it, they returned to Ekron the same day. And these are the golden emerods which the Pelishti returned for a trespass offering unto Yahuah. For Ashdod 1, for Azah 1, for Ashkelon 1, for Gath 1, for Ekron 1. And the golden mice, according to the number of all the cities of the Pelishti, belonging to the 5 lords, both of fenced cities and of country villages, even unto the great stone of Hebel, whereon they set down the ark of Yahuah, which stone remains unto this day in the field of Yahusha, the Beth Hashemshi. And he smote the men of Beth Shemesh, because they had looked into the ark of Yahuah. Even he smote of the people 50,060 men. And the people lamented, because Yahuah had smitten many of the people with a great slaughter. And the men of Beth Shemesh said, Who is able to stand before this holy Yahuah Elohim, and to whom shall he go up from us? And they sent messengers to the inhabitants of Kiriath Yearim, saying, The Pelishti have brought again the ark of Yahuah. Come you down and fetch it up to you. Chapter 7. And the men of Kiriath Yearim came and fetched up the ark of Yahuah, and brought it into the house of Abinadab in the hill, and sanctified Eleazar his son to keep the ark of Yahuah. And it came to pass, while the ark abode in Kiriath Yearim, that the time was long, for it was 20 years, and all the house of Yasharel lamented after Yahuah. And Shemuel spoke unto all the house of Yasharel, saying, If you do return unto Yahuah with all your hearts, then put away the strange gods and Ashtaroth from among you, and prepare your hearts unto Yahuah, and serve him only, and he will deliver you out of the hand of the Pelishti. Then the children of Yasharel did put away Baal and Ashtaroth, and served Yahuah only. And Shemuel said, Gather all Yasharel to Mitzpah, and I will pray for you unto Yahuah. And they gathered together in Mitzpah, and drew water, and poured it out before Yahuah, and fasted on that day, and said there, We have sinned against Yahuah. And Shemuel judged the children of Yasharel at Mitzpah. And when the Pelishti heard that the children of Yasharel were gathered together to Mitzpah, the lords of the Pelishti went up against Yasharel. And when the children of Yasharel heard it, they were afraid of the Pelishti. And the children of Yasharel said to Shemuel, Cease not to cry unto Yahuah our Elohim for us, that he will save us out of the hand of the Pelishti. And Shemuel took a sucking lamb, and offered it for a burnt offering holy unto Yahuah. And Shemuel cried unto Yahuah for Yasharel, and Yahuah heard him. And as Shemuel was offering up the burnt offering, the Pelishti drew near to battle against Yasharel. But Yahuah thundered with a great thunder on that day upon the Pelishti, and discomfited them, and they were smitten before Yasharel. And the men of Yasharel went out of Mitzpah, and pursued the Pelishti, and smote them, until they came under Beth-kar. Then Shemuel took a stone, and set it between Mitzpah and Shin, and called the name of it Eben-Haazer, saying, Hitherto has Yahuah helped us. So the Pelishti were subdued, and they came no more into the coast of Yasharel. And the hand of Yahuah was against the Pelishti all the days of Shemuel. And the cities which the Pelishti had taken from Yasharel were restored to Yasharel, from Ekron even unto Gath. And the coast thereof did Yasharel deliver out of the hands of the Pelishti, and there was peace between Yasharel and the Emori. And Shemuel judged Yasharel all the days of his life. And he went from year to year in circuit to Bethel and Gilgal and Mitzpah, and judged Yasharel in all those places. And his return was to Ramah, for there was his house, and there he judged Yasharel, and there he built an altar unto Yahuah. Chapter 8. And it came to pass, when Shemuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Yasharel. Now the name of his firstborn was Yoel, and the name of his second Abiyah. They were judges in Beer-sheba. And his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, and took bribes, and perverted judgment. Then all the elders of Yasharel gathered themselves together, and came to Shemuel unto Ramah, and said unto him, Behold, you are old, and your sons walk not in your ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. But the thing displeased Shemuel, when they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Shemuel prayed unto Yahuah. And Yahuah said unto Shemuel, Hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto you. For they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. According to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them up out of Mitzrayim, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me and served other gods, so do they also unto you. Now therefore hearken unto their voice, howbeit yet protest solemnly unto them, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them. And Shemuel told all the words of Yahuah unto the people that asked of him a king. And he said, This will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons, and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. And he will appoint him captains over thousands, and captains over fifties, and will set them to ear his ground, and to reap his harvest, and to make his instruments of war, and instruments of his chariots. And he will take your daughters to be confectionaries, and to be cooks, and to be bakers. And he will take your fields, and your vineyards, and your olive yards, even the best of them, and give them to his servants. And he will take the tenth of your seed, and of your vineyards, and give to his officers, and to his servants. And he will take your men servants, and your maidservants, and your goodly young men, and your asses, and put them to his work. He will take the tenth of your sheep, and you shall be his servants. And you shall cry out in that day because of your king, which you shall have chosen you. And Yahuah will not hear you in that day. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Shemuel, and they said, Nay, but we will have a king over us, that we also may be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us, and go out before us, and fight our battles. And Shemuel heard all the words of the people, and he rehearsed them in the ears of Yahuah. And Yahuah said to Shemuel, Hearken unto their voice, and make them a king. And Shemuel said unto the men of Yasharel, Go you every man unto his city. Chapter 9. Now there was a man of Benjamin, whose name was Kish, the son of Abiel, the son of Zeror, the son of Bechorath, the son of Aphiach, a Benjamini, a mighty man of power. And he had a son, whose name was Shaul, a choice young man and a goodly, and there was not among the children of Yasharel a goodlier person than he. From his shoulders and upward he was higher than any of the people. And the asses of Kish, Shaul's father, were lost. And Kish said to Shaul his son, Take now one of the servants with you, and arise, go seek the asses. And he passed through Mount Ephraim, and passed through the land of Shalishah, but they found them not. Then they passed through the land of Sha'alim, and there they were not. And he passed through the land of Ben-Yemeni, but they found them not. And when they were come to the land of Tzuf, Shaul said to his servant that was with him, Come, and let us return, lest my father leave caring for the asses, and take thought for us. And he said unto him, Behold now, there is in this city a man of Elohim, and he is an honorable man. All that he has said comes surely to pass. Now let us go thither, peradventure he can show us our way that we should go. Then said Shaul to his servant, But behold, if we go, what shall we bring the man? For the bread is spent in our vessels, and there is not a present to bring to the man of Elohim. What have we? And the servant answered Shaul again and said, Behold, I have here at hand the fourth part of a shekel of silver. That will I give to the man of Elohim, to tell us our way. Before time in Yasharel, when a man went to inquire of Elohim, thus he spoke, Come, and let us go to the seer, for he that is now called a prophet was before time called a seer. Then said Shaul to his servant, Well said, come, let us go. So they went unto the city where the man of Elohim was. And as they went up the hill to the city, they found young maidens going out to draw water, and said unto them, Is the seer here? And they answered them, and said, He is. Behold, he is before you. Make haste now, for he came today to the city, for there is a sacrifice of the people today in the high place. As soon as you be come into the city, you shall straightway find him, before he go up to the high place to eat. For the people will not eat until he come, because he does bless the sacrifice. And afterwards they eat that be bidden. Now therefore get you up, for about this time you shall find him. And they went up into the city, and when they were come into the city, behold, Shemuel came out against them, for to go up to the high place. Now Yahuah had told Shemuel in his ear a day before Shaul came, saying, Tomorrow about this time I will send you a man out of the land of Benjamin, and ye shall anoint him to be captain over my people Yasharel, that he may save my people out of the hand of the Pelishti. For I have looked upon my people, because their cry is come unto me. And when Shemuel saw Shaul, Yahuah said unto him, Behold the man I spoke to you of, this same shall reign over my people. Then Shaul drew near to Shemuel in the gate, and said, Tell me, I pray you, where the seer's house is. And Shemuel answered Shaul and said, I am the seer. Go up before me unto the high place, for you shall eat with me today, and tomorrow I will let you go, and will tell you all that is in your heart. And as for your asses that were lost 3 days ago, set not your mind on them, for they are found. And on whom is all the desire of Yasharel? Is it not on you, and on all your father's house? And Shaul answered and said, Am not I a Benjamini of the smallest of the tribes of Yasharel? And my family, the least of all the families of the tribe of Benjamin. Wherefore then speak ye so to me? And Shemuel took Shaul and his servant, and brought them into the parlor, and made them sit in the chiefest place among them that were bidden, which were about 30 persons. And Shemuel said unto the cook, Bring the portion which I gave you, of which I said unto you, Set it by you. And the cook took up the shoulder and that which was upon it, and set it before Shaul. And Shemuel said, Behold that which is left, set it before you, and eat, for unto this time has it been kept for you, since I said, I have invited the people. So Shaul did eat with Shemuel that day. And when they were come down from the high place into the city, Shemuel communed with Shaul upon the top of the house. And they arose early, and it came to pass about the spring of the day that Shemuel called Shaul to the top of the house, saying, Up, that I may send you away. And Shaul arose, and they went out, both of them, he and Shemuel, abroad. And as they were going down to the end of the city, Shemuel said to Shaul, Bid the servant pass on before us. And he passed on. But stand you still a while, that I may show you the word of Elohim. Chapter 10. Then Shemuel took a vial of oil and poured it upon his head, and kissed him, and said, Is it not because Yahuah has anointed you to be captain over his inheritance? When you are departed from me today, then you shall find 2 men in Rachel's sepulchre in the border of Benjamin at Seltzach, and they will say unto you, The asses which you went to seek are found. And lo, your father has left the care of the asses, and sorroweth for you, saying, What shall I do for my son? Then shall you go on forward from thence, and you shall come to the plain of Dabar, and there shall meet you 3 men going up to Elohim, to Beth El, one carrying 3 kids, and another carrying 3 loaves of bread, and another carrying a bottle of wine. And they will salute you, and give you 2 loaves of bread, which you shall receive of their hands. After that ye shall come to the hill of Elohim, where is the garrison of the Pelishti. And it shall come to pass, when you are come thither to the city, that ye shall meet a company of prophets coming down from the high place with a psaltery, and a tabret, and a pipe, and a harp before them, and they shall prophesy. And the Ruach of Yahuah will come upon you, and you shall prophesy with them, and shall be turned into another man. And let it be, when these signs are come unto you, that you do as occasion serve you, for Elohim is with you. And you shall go down before me to Gilgal, and behold, I will come down unto you to offer burnt offerings, and to sacrifice sacrifices of peace offerings. 7 days shall you tarry, till I come to you, and show you what you shall do. And it was so, that when he had turned his back to go from Shemuel, Elohim gave him another heart, and all those signs came to pass that day. And when they came thither to the hill, behold, a company of prophets met him, and the Ruach of Elohim came upon him, and he prophesied among them. And it came to pass, when all that knew him beforetime saw that, behold, he had prophesied among the prophets, then the people said to one another, What is this that is come unto the son of Kish? Is Shaul also among the prophets? And one of the same place answered and said, But who is their father? Therefore it became a proverb, Is Shaul also among the prophets? And when he had made an end of prophesying, he came to the high place. And Shaul's uncle said unto him and to his servants, Whither went you? And he said, To seek the asses. And when we saw that they were nowhere, we came to Shemuel. And Shaul's uncle said, Tell me, I pray you, what Shemuel said unto you. And Shaul said unto his uncle, He told us plainly that the asses were found, but of the matter of the kingdom, whereof Shemuel spoke, he told him not. And Shemuel called the people together unto Yahuah to Mitzpah, and said unto the children of Yasharel, Thus said Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel, I brought up Yasharel out of Mitzrayim, and delivered you out of the hand of the Mitzrayim, and out of the hand of all kingdoms, and of them that oppressed you. And ye have this day rejected your Elohim, who himself saved you out of all your adversities and your tribulations. And you have said unto him, Nay, but set a king over us. Now therefore present yourselves before Yahuah by your tribes and by your thousands. And when Shemuel had caused all the tribes of Yasharel to come near, the tribe of Benjamin was taken. When he had caused the tribe of Benjamin to come near by their families, the family of Matri was taken, and Shaul the son of Kish was taken. And when they sought him, he could not be found. Therefore they inquired of Yahuah further, if the man should not yet come thither. And Yahuah answered, Behold, he has hid himself among the stuff. And they ran and fetched him thence, and when he stood among the people, he was higher than any of the people from his shoulders and upward. And Shemuel said to all the people, See you him whom Yahuah has chosen, that there is none like him among the people. And the people shouted, Long live the king! Then Shemuel told the people the manner of the kingdom, and wrote it in a book, and laid it up before Yahuah. And Shemuel sent all the people away, every man to his house. And Shaul also went home to Gibah, and there went with him a band of men whose hearts Elohim had touched. But the children of Belial said, How shall this man save us? And they despised him, and brought no presents, but he held his peace. Chapter 11. Then Nachash the Ammoni came up and encamped against Yabesh Gilad, and all the men of Yabesh said unto Nachash, Make a covenant with us, and we will serve you. And Nachash and the Ammoni answered them, On this condition will I make a covenant with you, that I may thrust out all your right eyes, and lay it for a reproach upon all Yasharel. And the elders of Yabesh said unto him, Give us 7 days' respite, that we may send messengers unto all the coasts of Yasharel. And then, if there be no man to save us, we will come out to you. Then came the messengers to Gibah of Shaul, and told the tidings in the ears of the people, and all the people lifted up their voices and wept. And behold, Shaul came after the herd out of the field. And Shaul said, What ail the people that they weep? And they told him the tidings of the men of Yabesh. And the Ruach of Elohim came upon Shaul when he heard those tidings, and his anger was kindled greatly. And he took a yoke of oxen, and hewed them in pieces, and sent them throughout all the coasts of Yasharel by the hands of messengers, saying, Whosoever comes not forth after Shaul and after Shemuel, so shall it be done unto his oxen. And the fear of Yahuah fell on the people, and they came out with one consent. And when he numbered them in Bezek, the children of Yasharel were 300,000, and the men of Yehudah 30,000. And they said unto the messengers that came, Thus shall you say unto the men of Yabesh Gilad, Tomorrow by that time the sun be hot, ye shall have help. And the messengers came, and showed it to the men of Yabesh, and they were glad. Therefore the men of Yabesh said, Tomorrow we will come out unto you, and you shall do with us all that seems good unto you. And it was so on the morrow that Shaul put the people in 3 companies, and they came into the midst of the host in the morning watch, and slew the Ammoni until the heat of the day. And it came to pass that they which remained were scattered, so that 2 of them were not left together. And the people said unto Shemuel, Who is he that said, Shall Shaul reign over us? Bring them in, that we may put them to death. And Shaul said, There shall not a man be put to death this day, for today Yahuah has wrought salvation in Yasharel. Then said Shemuel to the people, Come, and let us go to Gilgal, and renew the kingdom there. And all the people went to Gilgal, and there they made Shaul king before Yahuah in Gilgal. And there they sacrificed sacrifices of peace offerings before Yahuah, and there Shaul and all the men of Yasharel rejoiced greatly. Chapter 12. And Shemuel said unto all Yasharel, Behold, I have hearkened unto your voice in all that you said unto me, and have made a king over you. And now, behold, the king walks before you, and I am old and gray-headed, and behold, my sons are with you, and I have walked before you from my childhood unto this day. Behold, here I am, witness against me before Yahuah, and before his Mashiach, whose ox have I taken? Or whose ass have I taken? Or whom have I defrauded? Whom have I oppressed? Or of whose hand have I received any bribe to blind mine eyes therewith? And I will restore it you. And they said, You have not defrauded us, nor oppressed us, neither have you taken aught of any man's hand. And he said unto them, Yahuah is witness against you, and his Mashiach is witness this day, that you have not found aught in my hand. And they answered, He is witness. And Shemuel said unto the people, It is Yahuah that advanced Moshe and Aharon, that brought your fathers up out of the land of Mitzrayim. Now therefore stand still, that I may reason with you before Yahuah of all the righteous acts of Yahuah, which he did to you and to your fathers. When Yaakov was come into Mitzrayim, and your fathers cried unto Yahuah, then Yahuah sent Moshe and Aharon, which brought forth your fathers out of Mitzrayim, and made them dwell in this place. And when they forgot Yahuah their Elohim, he sold them into the hand of Sisera, captain of the host of Hatzor, into the land of the Pelishti, and into the hand of the king of Moab, and they fought against them. And they cried unto Yahuah, and said, We have sinned, because we have forsaken Yahuah, and have served Baal and Ashtaroth. But now deliver us out of the hand of our enemies, and we will serve you. And Yahuah sent Yerubbaal, and Bedan, and Yephtach, and Shemuel, and delivered you out of the hand of your enemies on every side, and ye dwelled safe. And when you saw that Nachash, the king of the children of Ammon, came against you, you said unto me, Nay, but a king shall reign over us, when Yahuah your Elohim was your king. Now therefore, behold the king whom you have chosen, and whom you have desired, and behold, Yahuah has set a king over you. If you will fear Yahuah and serve him, and obey his voice, and not rebel against the commandment of Yahuah, then shall both you and also the king that reigns over you continue following Yahuah your Elohim. But if you will not obey the voice of Yahuah, but rebel against the commandment of Yahuah, then shall the hand of Yahuah be against you, as it was against your fathers. Now therefore stand and see this great thing which Yahuah will do before your eyes. Is it not wheat harvest today? I will call unto Yahuah, and he shall send thunder and rain, that you may perceive and see that your wickedness is great, which you have done in the sight of Yahuah in asking you a king. So Shemuel called unto Yahuah, and Yahuah sent thunder and rain that day, and all the people greatly feared Yahuah and Shemuel. And all the people said unto Shemuel, Pray for your servants unto Yahuah your Elohim, that we die not, for we have added unto all our sins this evil, to ask us a king. And Shemuel said unto the people, Fear not, you have done all this wickedness, yet turn not aside from following Yahuah, but serve Yahuah with all your heart. And turn you not aside, for then should you go after vain things which cannot profit nor deliver, for they are vain. For Yahuah will not forsake his people for his great name's sake, because it has pleased Yahuah to make you his people. Moreover, as for me, far be it from me that I would sin against Yahuah in ceasing to pray for you. But I will teach you the good and the right way. Only fear Yahuah and serve him in truth with all your heart, for consider how great things he has done for you. But if you shall still do wickedly, ye shall be consumed, both you and your king. Chapter 13. Shaul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Yasharel, Shaul chose him 3,000 men of Yasharel, whereof 2,000 were with Shaul in Michmash, and in Mount Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan in Geba of Benjamin, and the rest of the people he sent every man to his tent. And Jonathan smote the garrison of the Pelishti that was in Geba, and the Pelishti heard of it. And Shaul blew the trumpet throughout all the land, saying, Let the Ibri hear. And all Yasharel heard say that Shaul had smitten the garrison of the Pelishti, and that Yasharel also was had in abomination with the Pelishti. And the people were called together after Shaul to Gilgal. And the Pelishti gathered themselves together to fight with Yasharel, 30,000 chariots, and 6,000 horsemen, and people as the sand which is on the seashore in multitude. And they came up and pitched in Michmash eastward from Beth Awen. When the men of Yasharel saw that they were in a strait, for the people were distressed, then the people did hide themselves in caves, and in thickets, and in rocks, and in high places, and in pits. And some of the Ibri went over Yarden to the land of Gad and Gilad. As for Shaul, he was yet in Gilgal, and all the people followed him trembling. And he tarried 7 days, according to the set time that Shemuel had appointed. But Shemuel came not to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. And Shaul said, Bring hither a burnt offering to me, and peace offerings. And he offered the burnt offering. And it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, behold, Shemuel came. And Shaul went out to meet him, that he might salute him. And Shemuel said, What have you done? And Shaul said, Because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that you came not within the days appointed, and that the Pelishti gathered themselves together at Michmash. Therefore said I, The Pelishti will come down now upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto Yahuah. I forced myself, therefore, and offered a burnt offering. And Shemuel said to Shaul, You have done foolishly. You have not kept the commandment of Yahuah your Elohim, which he commanded you. For now would Yahuah have established your kingdom upon Yasharel forever. But now your kingdom shall not continue. Yahuah has sought him a man after his own heart, and Yahuah has commanded him to be captain over his people, because you have not kept that which Yahuah commanded you. And Shemuel arose and gat him up from Gilgal unto Gibah of Benjamin. And Shaul numbered the people that were present with him, about 600 men. And Shaul and Jehonathan his son, and the people that were present with him, abode in Gibah of Benjamin. But the Pelishti encamped in Michmash. And the spoilers came out of the camp of the Pelishti in 3 companies. One company turned unto the way that leads to Ophrah, unto the land of Shual, and another company turned the way to Beth Horon, and another company turned to the way of the border that looks to the valley of Tzeboim, toward the wilderness. Now there was no smith found throughout all the land of Yasharel, for the Pelishti said, Lest the Ibri make them swords or spears. But all Yasharel went down to the Pelishti to sharpen every man his share, and his coulter, and his axe, and his mattocks. Yet they had a file for the mattocks, and for the coulters, and for the forks, and for the axes, and to sharpen the goads. So it came to pass in the day of battle, that there were neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people that were with Shaul and Jehonathan. But with Shaul and with Jehonathan his son was there found. And the garrison of the Pelishti went out to the passage of Michmash. Chapter 14. Now it came to pass upon a day that Jehonathan the son of Shaul said unto the young man that bare his armor, Come, and let us go over to the Pelishti garrison that is on the other side. But he told not his father. And Shaul tarried in the uttermost part of Gibah under a pomegranate tree which is in Migron, and the people that were with him were about 600 men. And Achiah, the son of Achitub, Ichabod's brother, the son of Phinehas, the son of Eli, Yahuah's Kohen in Shiloh, wearing an ephod. And the people knew not that Jehonathan was gone. And between the passages by which Jehonathan sought to go over unto the Pelishti's garrison, there was a sharp rock on the one side, and a sharp rock on the other side. And the name of the one was Botsetz, and the name of the other Seneh. The forefront of the one was situate northward over against Michmash, and the other southward over against Gibah. And Jehonathan said to the young man that bare his armor, Come, and let us go over unto the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that Yahuah will work for us, and there is no restraint to Yahuah to save by many or by few. And his armor-bearer said unto him, Do all that is in your heart, Turn you, behold, I am with you according to your heart. Then said Jehonathan, Behold, we will pass over unto these men, and we will discover ourselves unto them. If they say thus unto us, Tarry until we come to you, then we will stand still in our place, and will not go up unto them. But if they say thus, Come up unto us, then we will go up, for Yahuah has delivered them into our hand, and this shall be a sign unto us. And both of them discovered themselves unto the garrison of the Pelishti. And the Pelishti said, Behold, the Ibri come forth out of the holes where they had hid themselves. And the men of the garrison answered Jehonathan and his armor-bearer, and said, Come up to us, and we will show you a thing. And Jehonathan said unto his armor-bearer, Come up after me, for Yahuah has delivered them into the hand of Yasharel. And Jehonathan climbed up upon his hands and upon his feet, and his armor-bearer after him. And they fell before Jehonathan, and his armor-bearer slew after him. And that first slaughter which Jehonathan and his armor-bearer made was about 20 men, within as it were an half acre of land, which a yoke of oxen might plow. And there was trembling in the host, in the field, and among all the people. The garrison and the spoilers, they also trembled, and the earth quaked, so it was a very great trembling. And the watchmen of Shaul in Gibah of Benjamin looked, and behold, the multitude melted away, and they went on beating down one another. Then said Shaul unto the people that were with him, Number now, and see who is gone from us. And when they had numbered, behold, Jehonathan and his armor-bearer were not there. And Shaul said unto Achiah, Bring hither the ark of Elohim, for the ark of Elohim was at that time with the children of Yasharel. And it came to pass, while Shaul talked unto the Kohen, that the noise that was in the host of the Pelishti went on and increased. And Shaul said unto the Kohen, Withdraw your hand. And Shaul and all the people that were with him assembled themselves. And they came to the battle, and behold, every man's sword was against his fellow, and there was a great discomfiture. Moreover, the Ibri that were with the Pelishti before that time, which went up with them into the camp from the country round about, even they also turned to be with the Yasharel that were with Shaul and Jehonathan. Likewise, all the men of Yasharel, which had hid themselves in Mount Ephraim, when they heard that the Pelishti fled, even they also followed hard after them in the battle. So Yahuah saved Yasharel that day, and the battle passed over unto Beth Awen. And the men of Yasharel were distressed that day, for Shaul adjured the people, saying, Cursed be the man that eats any food until evening, that I may be avenged on mine enemies. So none of the people tasted any food. And all they of the land came to a wood, and there was honey upon the ground. And when the people were come into the wood, behold, the honey dropped, but no man put his hand to his mouth, for the people feared the oath. But Jehonathan heard not when his father charged the people with the oath. Wherefore he put forth the end of the rod that was in his hand, and dipped it in a honeycomb, and put his hand to his mouth, and his eyes were enlightened. Then answered one of the people and said, Your father straitly charged the people with an oath, saying, Cursed be the man that eats any food this day. And the people were faint. Then said Jehonathan, My father has troubled the land. See, I pray you, how mine eyes have been enlightened, because I tasted a little of this honey. How much more, if haply the people had eaten freely today of the spoil of their enemies which they found? For had there not been now a much greater slaughter among the Pelishti? And they smote the Pelishti that day from Michmash to Ayalon, and the people were very faint. And the people flew upon the spoil, and took sheep and oxen and calves, and slew them on the ground, and the people did eat them with the blood. Then they told Shaul, saying, Behold, the people sin against Yahuah, in that they eat with the blood. And he said, You have transgressed. Roll a great stone unto me this day. And Shaul said, Disperse yourselves among the people, and say unto them, Bring me hither every man his ox, and every man his sheep, and slay them here, and eat, and sin not against Yahuah in eating with the blood. And all the people brought every man his ox with him that night, and slew them there. And Shaul built an altar unto Yahuah. The same was the first altar that he built unto Yahuah. And Shaul said, Let us go down after the Pelishti by night, and spoil them until the morning light. and let us not leave a man of them. And they said, Do whatsoever seems good unto you. Then said the Kohen, Let us draw near hither unto Elohim. And Shaul asked counsel of Elohim, Shall I go down after the Pelishti? Will you deliver them into the hand of Yasharel? But he answered him not that day. And Shaul said, Draw ye near hither all the chief of the people, and know and see wherein this sin has been this day. For as Yahuah lives, which saves Yasharel, though it be in Jehonathan my son, he shall surely die. But there was not a man among all the people that answered him. Then said he unto all Yasharel, Be you on one side, and I and Jehonathan my son will be on the other side. And the people said unto Shaul, Do what seems good unto you. Therefore Shaul said unto Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel, Give a perfect lot. And Shaul and Jehonathan were taken, but the people escaped. And Shaul said, Cast lots between me and Jehonathan my son. And Jehonathan was taken. Then Shaul said to Jehonathan, Tell me what you have done. And Jehonathan told him, and said, I did but taste a little honey with the end of the rod that was in mine hand, and lo, I must die. And Shaul answered, Elohim, do so, and more also, for you shall surely die, Jehonathan. And the people said unto Shaul, Shall Jehonathan die, who hath wrought this great salvation in Yasharel? Far from it. As Yahuah lives, there shall not one hair of his head fall to the ground, for he has wrought with Elohim this day. So the people rescued Jehonathan, that he died not. Then Shaul went up from following the Pelishti, and the Pelishti went to their own place. So Shaul took the kingdom over Yasharel, and fought against all his enemies on every side, against Moab, and against the children of Ammon, and against Edom, and against the king of Zobah, and against the Pelishti, and whithersoever he turned himself, he vexed them. And he gathered a host, and smote the Amalek, and delivered Yasharel out of the hands of them that spoiled them. Now, the sons of Shaul were Jehonathan, and Yeshwi, and Malchiyusha, and the names of his 2 daughters were these: the name of the firstborn, Merab, and the name of the younger, Michal. And the name of Shaul's wife was Achinoam, the daughter of Achimaatz. And the name of the captain of his host was Abner, the son of Ner, Shaul's uncle. And Kish was the father of Shaul, and Ner the father of Abner, the son of Abiel. And there was sore war against the Pelishti all the days of Shaul. And when Shaul saw any strong man or any valiant man, he took him unto him. Chapter 15. Shemuel also said unto Shaul, Yahuah sent me to anoint you to be king over his people, over Yasharel. Now therefore hearken you unto the voice of the words of Yahuah. Thus said Yahuah of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Yasharel, how he laid wait for him in the way, when he came up from Mitzrayim. Now go and smite Amalek, and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. And Shaul gathered the people together, and numbered them in Telaim, and 200,000 footmen, and 10,000 men of Yehudah. And Shaul came to the city of Amalek, and laid wait in the valley. And Shaul said unto the Cani, Go, depart, get you down from among the Amaleki, lest I destroy you with them. For you showed kindness to all the children of Yasharel, when they came up out of Mitzrayim. So the Cani departed from among the Amaleki. And Shaul smote the Amaleki from Haolah until you come to Shur, that is over against Mitzrayim. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalek, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But Shaul and the people spared Agag, and the best of the sheep, and of the oxen, and of the fatlings, and of the lambs, and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them. But everything that was vile and refuse, that they destroyed utterly. Then came the word of Yahuah unto Shemuel, saying, It repents me that I have set up Shaul to be king, for he has turned back from following me, and has not performed my commandments. And it grieved Shemuel, and he cried unto Yahuah all night. And when Shemuel rose early to meet Shaul in the morning, it was told Shemuel, saying, Shaul came to Carmel, and behold, he set him up a place, and is gone about, and passed on, and gone down to Gilgal. And Shemuel came to Shaul, and Shaul said to him, Blessed be you of Yahuah, I have performed the commandment of Yahuah. And Shemuel said, What means then this bleating of the sheep in mine ears, and the lowing of the oxen which I hear? And Shaul said, They have brought them from the Amaleki, for the people spared the best of the sheep and of the oxen to sacrifice unto Yahuah your Elohim, and the rest we have utterly destroyed. Then Shemuel said unto Shaul, Stay, and I will tell you what Yahuah has said to me this night. And he said unto him, Say on. And Shemuel said, When you wast little in your own sight, were you not made the head of the tribes of Yasharel? And Yahuah anointed you king over Yasharel? And Yahuah sent you on a journey and said, Go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalek, and fight against them until they be consumed. Wherefore then did you not obey the voice of Yahuah, but did fly upon the spoil, and did evil in the sight of Yahuah? And Shaul said unto Shemuel, Yea, I have obeyed the voice of Yahuah, and have gone the way which Yahuah sent me, and have brought Agag the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalek. But the people took of the spoil, sheep and oxen, the chief of the things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice unto Yahuah your Elohim in Gilgal. And Shemuel said, Has Yahuah as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Yahuah? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of Yahuah, he has also rejected you from being king. And Shaul said unto Shemuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of Yahuah, and your words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. Now therefore I pray you, pardon my sin, and turn again with me, that I may worship Yahuah. And Shemuel said unto Shaul, I will not return with you, for you have rejected the word of Yahuah, and Yahuah has rejected you from being king over Yasharel. And as Shemuel turned about to go away, he laid hold upon the shirt of his mantle, and it rent. And Shemuel said unto him, Yahuah has rent the kingdom of Yasharel from you this day, and has given it to a neighbor of yours that is better than you. And also the strength of Yasharel will not lie nor repent, for he is not a man that he should repent. Then he said, I have sinned, yet honor me now, I pray you, before the elders of my people, and before Yasharel, and turn again with me, that I may worship Yahuah your Elohim. So Shemuel turned again after Shaul, and Shaul worshipped Yahuah. Then said Shemuel, Bring you hither to me Agag, the king of the Amalek. And Agag came unto him delicately. And Agag said, Surely the bitterness of death is past. And Shemuel said, As your sword is made women childless, so shall your mother be childless among women. And Shemuel hewed Agag in pieces before Yahuah in Gilgal. Then Shemuel went to Ramah, and Shaul went up to his house to Gibah of Shaul. And Shemuel came no more to see Shaul until the day of his death. Nevertheless, Shemuel mourned for Shaul, and Yahuah repented that he had made Shaul king over Yasharel. Chapter 16. And Yahuah said unto Shemuel, How long will you mourn for Shaul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Yasharel? Fill your horn with oil, and go. I will send you to Yishai, the Beth Halachmi, for I have provided me a king among his sons. And Shemuel said, How can I go? If Shaul hear it, he will kill me. And Yahuah said, Take a heifer with you, and say, I am come to sacrifice to Yahuah. And call Yishai to the sacrifice, and I will show you what you shall do, and you shall anoint unto me him who I name unto you. And Shemuel did that which Yahuah spoke, and came to Bethlehem, and the elders of the town trembled at his coming, and said, Come you peaceably? And he said, Peaceably. I am come to sacrifice unto Yahuah. Sanctify yourselves, and come with me to the sacrifice. And he sanctified Yishai and his sons, and called them to the sacrifice. And it came to pass, when they were come, that he looked on Eliab, and said, Surely Yahuah's Mashiach is before him. But Yahuah said unto Shemuel, Look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For Yahuah sees not as a man sees, for man looks on the outward appearance, but Yahuah looks on the heart. Then Yeshai called Abinadab, and made him pass before Shemuel. And he said, Neither has Yahuah chosen this. Then Yeshai made Shammah to pass by. And he said, Neither has Yahuah chosen this. Again, Yeshai made 7 of his sons to pass before Shemuel. And Shemuel said unto Yeshai, Yahuah has not chosen these. And Shemuel said unto Yeshai, Are here all your children? And he said, There remains yet the youngest, and behold, he keeps the sheep. And Shemuel said unto Yeshai, Send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he come hither. And he sent, and brought him in. Now he was ruddy, and withal of a beautiful countenance, and goodly to look to. And Yahuah said, Arise, anoint him, for this is he. Then Shemuel took the horn of oil, and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. And the Ruach of Yahuah came upon David from that day forward. So Shemuel rose up and went to Ramah. But the Ruach of Yahuah departed from Shaul, and an evil spirit from Yahuah troubled him. And Shaul's servants said unto him, Behold now, an evil spirit from Elohim troubles you. Let our Lord now command your servants which are before you to seek out a man who is a cunning player on a harp, and it shall come to pass, when the evil spirit from Elohim is upon you, that he shall play with his hand, and ye shall be well. And Shaul said unto his servants, Provide me now a man that can play well, and bring him to me. Then answered one of the servants, and said, Behold, I have seen a son of Yeshai the Beth Halachmi, that is cunning in playing, and a mighty valiant man, and a man of war, and prudent in manners, and a comely person, and Yahuah is with him. Wherefore Shaul sent messengers unto Yeshai, and said, Send me David your son, which is with the sheep. And Yeshai took an ass laden with bread, and a bottle of wine, and a kid, and sent them by David his son unto Shaul. And David came to Shaul, and stood before him, and he loved him greatly, and he became his armor-bearer. And Shaul sent to Yeshai, saying, Let David, I pray you, stand before me, for he has found favor in my sight. And it came to pass, when the evil spirit from Elohim was upon Shaul, that David took a harp, and played with his hand. So Shaul was refreshed, and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him. Chapter 17. Now the Pelishti gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Succoth, which belongs to Yehudah, and pitched between Succoth and Azekah in Ephes Damim. And Shaul and the men of Yasharel were gathered together, and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Pelishti. And the Pelishti stood on a mountain on the one side, and Yasharel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Pelishti, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. And he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Yasharel, and said unto them, Why are you come out to set your battle in array? Am I not a Pelishti, and ye servants to Shaul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me and kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him, and kill him, then shall you be our servants and serve us. And the Pelishti said, I defy the armies of Yasharel this day. Give me a man, that we may fight together. When Shaul and all Yasharel heard those words of the Pelishti, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Now David was the son of that Ephratah of Bethlehem Yehudah, whose name was Yeshai, and he had 8 sons, and the men went among the men of an old man in the days of Shaul. And the 3 eldest sons of Yeshai went and followed Shaul to the battle. And the names of his 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab, the firstborn, and next unto him Abinadab, and the third Shammah. And David was the youngest, and the 3 eldest followed Shaul. But David went and returned from Shaul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Pelishti drew near morning and evening, and presented himself 40 days. And Yishai said unto David his son, Take now for your brethren an ephah of parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp of your brethren. And carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how your brethren fare, and take their pledge. Now Shaul and they and all the men of Yasharel were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Pelishti. And David rose up early in the morning, and left the sheep with a keeper, and took and went as Yishai had commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to fight, and shouted for the battle. For Yasharel and the Pelishti had put the battle in array, army against army. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, and ran into the army, and came and saluted his brethren. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Pelishti of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Pelishti, and spoke according to the same words, and David heard them. And all the men of Yasharel, when they saw the man, fled from him, and were sore afraid. And the men of Yasharel said, Have you seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Yasharel is he come up. And it shall be that the man who kills him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Yasharel. And David spoke to the men that stood by him, saying, What shall be done to the man that kills this Pelishti, and takes away the reproach from Yasharel? For who is this uncircumcised Pelishti, that he should defy the armies of the living Elohim? And the people answered him after this manner, saying, So shall it be done to the man that kills him. And Eliab, his eldest brother, heard what he spoke unto the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, Why came you down hither, and with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your pride, and the naughtiness of your heart, for you are come down that you might see the battle. And David said, What have I now done? Is there not a cause? And he turned from him toward another, and spoke after the same manner, and the people answered him again after the former manner. And when the words were heard which David spoke, they rehearsed them before Shaul, and he sent for him. And David said to Shaul, Let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Pelishti. And Shaul said to David, You are not able to go against this Pelishti to fight with him, for you are but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. And David said unto Shaul, Your servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. Your servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Pelishti shall be as one of them, seeing he has defied the armies of the living Elohim. David said moreover, Yahuah that delivered me out of the paw of the lion, and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Pelishti. And Shaul said unto David, Go, and Yahuah be with you. And Shaul armed David with his armor, and put a helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and as he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Shaul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off. And he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a scrip, and his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Pelishti. And the Pelishti came on, and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Pelishti looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of fair countenance. And the Pelishti said unto David, Am I a dog, that you come to me with staves? And the Pelishti cursed David by his gods. And the Pelishti said to David, Come to me, and I will give your flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. Then said David to the Pelishti, "You come to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield, but I come to you in the name of Yahuah of hosts, the Elohim of the armies of Yasharel, whom you have defied. This day will Yahuah deliver you into mine hand, and I will smite you, and take your head from you. And I will give the carcasses of the host of the Pelishti this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a Elohim in Yasharel. And all this assembly shall know that Yahuah saves not with sword and spear, for the battle is Yahuah's, and he will give you into our hands." And it came to pass, when the Pelishti arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hastened and ran toward the army to meet the Pelishti. And David put his hand in his bag, and took thence a stone, and slang it, and smote the Pelishti in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Pelishti with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Pelishti, and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran, and stood upon the Pelishti, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Pelishti saw their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Yasharel and of Yehudah arose and shouted and pursued the Pelishti until you come to the valley and to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Pelishti fell down by the way to Sha'arim, even unto Gath and unto Ekron. And the children of Yasharel returned from chasing after the Pelishti, and they spoiled their tents. And David took the head of the Pelishti and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. And when Shaul saw David go forth against the Pelishti, he said unto Abner, the captain of the host, "Abner, whose son is this youth?" And Abner said, "As your soul lives, O king, I cannot tell." And the king said, "Inquire you whose son the stripling is." And as David returned from the slaughter of the Pelishti, Abner took him and brought him before Shaul with the head of the Pelishti in his hand. And Shaul said to him, "Whose son are you, you young man?" And David answered, "I am the son of your servant Yishai the Beth Halachmi." Chapter 18. And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking to Shaul, that the soul of Jehonathan was knit with the soul of David, and Jehonathan loved him as his own soul. And Shaul took him that day, and would let him go no more home to his father's house. Then Jehonathan and David made a covenant, because he loved him as his own soul. And Jehonathan stripped himself of the robe that was upon him, and gave it to David, and his garments, even to his sword, and to his bow, and to his girdle. And David went out whithersoever Shaul sent him, and behaved himself wisely. And Shaul set him over the men of war. And he was accepted in the sight of all the people, and also in the sight of Shaul's servants. And it came to pass, as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Pelishti, that the women came out of all the cities of Yasharel, singing and dancing to meet King Shaul with tabrets, with joy, and with instruments of music. And the women answered one another as they played, and said, "Shaul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. And Shaul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him, and he said, "They have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom?" And Shaul eyed David from that day and forward. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from Elohim came upon Shaul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house. And David played with his hand, as at other times, and there was a javelin in Shaul's hand. And Shaul cast the javelin, for he said, "I will smite David even to the wall with it." And David avoided out of his presence twice. And Shaul was afraid of David, because Yahuah was with him, and was departed from Shaul. Therefore Shaul removed him from him, and made him his captain over 1,000. And he went out and came in before the people. And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and Yahuah was with him. Wherefore, when Shaul saw that he behaved himself very wisely, he was afraid of him. But all Yasharel and Yehudah loved David, because he went out and came in before them. And Shaul said to David, "Behold, my elder daughter, Merab, for her will I give you to wife. Only be you valiant for me, and fight Yahuah's battles. For Shaul said, Let not mine hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Pelishti be upon him. And David said unto Shaul, Who am I, and what is my life, or my father's family in Yasharel, that I should be son-in-law to the king? But it came to pass at the time when Merab, Shaul's daughter, should have been given to David, that she was given unto Adriel, the Mecholathi, to wife. And Michal, Shaul's daughter, loved David, and they told Shaul, and the thing pleased him. And Shaul said, I will give him her, that she may be a snare to him, and that the hand of the Pelishti may be against him. Wherefore Shaul said to David, You shall this day be my son-in-law in the one of the twain. And Shaul commanded his servants, saying, Commune with David secretly, and say, Behold, the king has delight in you, and all his servants love you. Now therefore be the king's son-in-law. And Shaul's servants spoke those words in the ears of David. And David said, Seems it to you a light thing to be a king's son-in-law, seeing that I am a poor man, and lightly esteemed? And the servants of Shaul told him, saying, On this manner spoke David. And Shaul said, Thus shall you say to David, The king desires not any dowry, but 100 foreskins of the Pelishti, to be avenged of the king's enemies. But Shaul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Pelishti. And when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to be the king's son-in-law, and the days were not expired. Wherefore David arose and went, he and his men, and slew of the Pelishti 200 men. And David brought their foreskins, and they gave them in full tale to the king, that he might be the king's son-in-law. And Shaul gave him Michal his daughter to wife. And Shaul saw and knew that Yahuah was with David, and that Michal Shaul's daughter loved him. And Shaul was yet the more afraid of David, and Shaul became David's enemy continually. Then the princes of the Pelishti went forth, and it came to pass, after they went forth, that David behaved himself more wisely than all the servants of Shaul, so that his name was much set by. Chapter 19. And Shaul spoke to Jonathan his son and to all his servants that they should kill David. But Jonathan, Shaul's son, delighted much in David. And Jonathan told David, saying, Shaul my father seeks to kill you. Now therefore, I pray you, take heed to yourself until the morning, and abide in a secret place, and hide yourself. And I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where you are. And I will commune with my father of you, and what I see, that I will tell you. And Jonathan spoke good of David unto Shaul his father, and said unto him, Let not the king sin against his servant, against David, because he has not sinned against you, and because his works have been to you ward very good. For he did put his life in his hand, and slew the Pelishti, and Yahuah wrought a great salvation for all Yasharel. You saw it, and did rejoice. Wherefore then will you sin against innocent blood, to slay David without a cause? And Shaul hearkened unto the voice of Jonathan, and Shaul swore, As Yahuah lives, he shall not be slain. And Jonathan called David, and Jonathan showed him all those things, and Jonathan brought David to Shaul, and he was in his presence, as in times past. And there was war again. And David went out, and fought with the Pelishti, and slew them with a great slaughter, and they fled from him. And the evil spirit from Yahuah was upon Shaul, as he sat in his house with his javelin in his hand, and David played with his hand. And Shaul sought to smite David even to the wall with the javelin, but he slipped away out of Shaul's presence, and he smote the javelin into the wall, and David fled, and escaped that night. Shaul also sent messengers unto David's house to watch him, and to slay him in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, told him, saying, If you save not your life tonight, tomorrow you shall be slain. So Michal let David down through a window, and he went, and fled, and escaped. And Michal took an image, and laid it in the bed, and put a pillow of goat's hair for his bolster, and covered it with a cloth. And when Shaul sent messengers to take David, she said, He is sick. And Shaul sent the messengers again to see David, saying, Bring him up to me in the bed, that I may slay him. And when the messengers were come in, behold, there was an image in the bed, with a pillow of goat's hair for his bolster. And Shaul said unto Michal, Why have you deceived me so, and sent away mine enemy, that he is escaped? And Michal answered Shaul, He said unto me, Let me go, why should I kill you? So David fled and escaped, and came to Shemuel to Ramah, and told him all that Shaul had done to him. And he and Shemuel went and dwelt in Nawith. And it was told Shaul, saying, Behold, David is at Nawith in Ramah. And Shaul sent messengers to take David. And when they saw the company of the prophets prophesying, and Shemuel standing as appointed over them, the Ruach of Elohim was upon the messengers of Shaul, and they also prophesied. And when it was told Shaul, he sent other messengers, and they prophesied likewise. And Shaul sent messengers again the third time, and they prophesied also. Then went he also to Ramah, and came to a great well that is in Seku. And he asked and said, Where are Shemuel and David? And one said, Behold, they be at Nawith in Ramah. And he went thither to Nawith in Ramah, and the Ruach of Elohim was upon him also. And he went on, and prophesied, until he came to Nawith in Ramah. And he stripped off his clothes also, and prophesied before Shemuel in like manner, and lay down naked all that day and all that night. Wherefore they say, Is Shaul also among the prophets? Chapter 20. And David fled from Nawith and Ramah, and came and said before Jehonathan, What have I done? What is mine iniquity? And what is my sin before your father, that he seeks my life? And he said unto him, Far from it, you shall not die. Behold, my father will do nothing, either great or small, but that he will show it me. And why should my father hide this thing from me? It is not so. And David swore moreover, and said, Your father certainly knows that I have found grace in your eyes. And he said, Let not Jehonathan know this, lest he be grieved. But truly as Yahuah lives, and as your soul lives, there is but a step between me and death. Then said Jehonathan unto David, Whatsoever your soul desires, I will even do it for you. And David said unto Jehonathan, Behold, tomorrow is the new month, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go, that I may hide myself in the field until the third day at even. If your father at all miss me, then say, David earnestly asked leave of me that he might run to Bethlehem his city, for there is a yearly sacrifice there for all the family. If he say thus, It is well, your servant shall have peace, but if he be very wroth, then be sure that evil is determined by him. Therefore you shall deal kindly with your servant, for you have brought your servant into a covenant of Yahuah with you. Notwithstanding, if there be in me iniquity, slay me yourself, for why should you bring me to your father? And Jehonathan said, Far be it from you. For if I knew certainly that evil were determined by my father to come upon you, then would not I tell you? Then said David to Jehonathan, Who shall tell me, or what if your father answer you roughly? And Jehonathan said unto David, Come, let us go out into the field. And they went out, both of them, into the field. And Jehonathan said unto David, O Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel, when I have sounded my father about tomorrow any time, or the third day, and behold, if there be good toward David, and I then sin not unto you, and show it you. Yahuah do so and much more to Jehonathan, but if it please my father to do you evil, then I will show it you, and send you away that you may go in peace, and Yahuah be with you, as he has been with my father. And you shall not only while yet I live show me the kindness of Yahuah, that I die not, but also you shall not cut off your kindness from my house forever. No, not when Yahuah has cut off the enemies of David, every one from the face of the earth. So Jehonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, Let Yahuah even require it at the hand of David's enemies. And Jehonathan caused David to swear again, because he loved him, for he loved him as he loved his own soul. Then Jehonathan said to David, Tomorrow is the new month, and you shall be missed, because your seat will be empty. And when you have stayed 3 days, then you shall go down quickly, and come to the place where you did hide yourself when the business was in hand, and shall remain by the stone Ezel. And I will shoot 3 arrows on the side thereof, as though I shot at a mark. And behold, I will send a lad, saying, Go find out the arrows. If I expressly say unto the lad, Behold, the arrows are on this side of you, take them, then come you, for there is peace to you, and no hurt, as Yahuah lives. But if I say thus unto the young man, Behold, the arrows are beyond you, go your way, for Yahuah has sent you away. And as touching the matter which you and I have spoken of, behold, Yahuah be between you and me forever. So David hid himself in the field, and when the new month was come, the king sat him down to eat meat. And the king sat upon his seat, as at other times, even upon a seat by the wall. And Jehonathan arose, and Abner sat by Shaul's side, and David's place was empty. Nevertheless, Shaul spoke not anything that day, for he thought, Something has befallen him. He is not clean. Surely he is not clean. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the 2nd day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Shaul said unto Jehonathan his son, Wherefore comes not the son of Yishai to meat, neither yesterday nor today? And Jehonathan answered Shaul, David earnestly asked leave of me to go to Bethlehem. And he said, Let me go, I pray you, for our family has a sacrifice in the city, and my brother, he has commanded me to be there. And now, if I have found favor in your eyes, let me get away, I pray you, and see my brethren. Therefore he comes not unto the king's table. Then Shaul's anger was kindled against Jehonathan, and he said unto him, You son of the perverse rebellious woman, do not I know that you have chosen the son of Yishai to your own confusion, and unto the confusion of your mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Yishai lives upon the ground, you shall not be established, nor your kingdom. Wherefore now send and fetch him unto me, for he shall surely die. And Jehonathan answered Shaul his father, and said unto him, Wherefore shall he be slain? What has he done? And Shaul cast a javelin at him to smite him, whereby Jehonathan knew that it was determined of his father to slay David. So Jehonathan arose from the table in fierce anger, and did eat no meat the 2nd day of the month, for he was grieved for David, because his father had done him shame. And it came to pass in the morning that Jehonathan went out into the field at the time appointed with David, and a little lad with him. And he said unto his lad, Run, find out now the arrows which I shoot. And as the lad ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. And when the lad was come to the place of the arrow which Jehonathan had shot, Jehonathan cried after the lad, and said, Is not the arrow beyond you? And Jehonathan cried after the lad, Make speed, haste, stay not. And Jehonathan's lad gathered up the arrows, and came to his master. But the lad knew not anything, only Jehonathan and David knew the matter. And Jehonathan gave his artillery unto his lad, and said unto him, Go, carry them to the city. And as soon as the lad was gone, David rose out of a place toward the south, and fell on his face to the ground, and bowed himself 3 times. And they kissed one another, and wept one with another, until David exceeded. And Jehonathan said to David, Go in peace, for as much as we have sworn both of us in the name of Yahuah, saying, Yahuah be between me and you, and between my seed and your seed forever. And he arose and departed, and Jehonathan went into the city. Chapter 21. Then came David to Nob, to Ahimelech the Kohen, and Ahimelech was afraid at the meeting of David, and said unto him, Why are you alone, and no man with you? And David said unto Ahimelech the Kohen, The king has commanded me a business, and has said unto me, Let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send you, and what I have commanded you. And I have appointed my servants to such and such a place. Now, therefore, what is under your hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in mine hand, or what there is present. And the Kohen answered David, and said, There is no common bread under mine hand, but there is hallowed bread, if the young men have kept themselves at least from women. And David answered the Kohen, and said unto him, Of a truth women have been kept from us about these 3 days, since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy. And the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it were sanctified this day in the vessel. So the Kohen gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread there but the showbread that was taken from before Yahuah, to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. Now a certain man of the servants of Shaul was there that day, detained before Yahuah, And his name was Doeg, an Edomite, the chiefest of the herdsmen that belonged to Shaul. And David said unto Ahimelech, And is there not here under your hand spear or sword? For I have neither brought my sword nor my weapons with me, because the king's business required haste. And the Kohen said, The sword of Goliath the Pelishti, whom you slew in the valley of Elah, behold, it is here wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. If you will take that, take it, for there is no other save that here. And David said, There is none like that, give it me. And David arose and fled that day for fear of Shaul, and went to Achish, the king of Gath. And the servants of Achish said unto him, Is not this David, the king of the land? Did they not sing one to another of him in dances, saying, Shaul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s? And David laid up these words in his heart, and was sore afraid of Achish, the king of Gath. And he changed his behavior before them, and feigned himself mad in their hands, and scrabbled on the doors of the gate, and let his spittle fall down upon his beard. Then said Achish unto his servants, Lo, you see this man is mad. Wherefore then have you brought him to me? Have I need of madmen, that ye have brought this fellow to play the madman in my presence? Shall this fellow come into my house? Chapter 22. David therefore departed thence, and escaped to the cave Adullam. And when his brethren and all his father's house heard it, they went down thither to him. And every one that was in distress, and every one that was in debt, and every one that was discontented, gathered themselves unto him. And he became a captain over them, and there were with him about 400 men. And David went thence to Mitzpah of Moab. And he said unto the king of Moab, Let my father and my mother, I pray you, come forth, and be with you, till I know what Elohim will do for me. And he brought them before the king of Moab, and they dwelt with him all the while that David was in the hold. And the prophet Gad said unto David, Abide not in the hold, depart, and get you into the land of Yehudah. Then David departed, and came into the forest of Chereth. When Shaul heard that David was discovered, and the men that were with him, now Shaul abode in Gibah under a tree in Ramah, having his spear in his hand, and all his servants were standing about him. Then Shaul said unto his servants that stood about him, Hear now, you Benjamini, will the son of Yeshai give every one of you fields and vineyards, and make you all captains of thousands and captains of hundreds? That all of you have conspired against me, and there is none that shows me that my son has made a league with the son of Yeshai. And there is none of you that is sorry for me, or shows unto me that my son has stirred up my servant against me, to lie in wait, as at this day. Then answered Doeg the Edomite, which was set over the servants of Shaul, and said, I saw the son of Yeshai coming to Nob, to Ahimelech, the son of Achiatub. And he inquired of Yahuah for him, and gave him victuals, and gave him the sword of Goliath the Pelishti. Then the king said to call Ahimelech, the Kohen, the son of Achiatub, and all his father's house, the Kohen that were in Nob. And they came all of them to the king. And Shaul said, Hear now, thou son of Achiatub. And he answered, Here I am, my lord. And Shaul said unto him, Why have you conspired against me, you and the son of Yeshai, that you have given him bread and a sword, and have inquired of Elohim for him, that he should rise against me to lie in wait, as at this day? Then Ahimelech answered the king, and said, And who is so faithful among all your servants as David, which is the king's son-in-law, and goes at your bidding, and is honorable in your house? Did I then begin to inquire of Elohim for him? Be it far from me. Let not the king impute anything unto his servant, nor to all the house of my father, for your servant knew nothing of all this, less or more. And the king said, You shall surely die, Ahimelech, you and all your father's house. And the king said unto the footmen that stood about him, Turn, and slay the Kohen of Yahuah, because their hand is also with David, and because they knew when he fled, and did not show it to me. But the servants of the king would not put forth their hand to fall upon the Kohen of Yahuah. And the king said to Doeg, Turn you, and fall upon the Kohen. And Doeg the Edomite turned, and he fell upon the Kohen, and slew on that day 85 persons that did wear a linen ephod. And Nob, the city of the Kohen, smote he with the edge of the sword, both men and women, children and sucklings, and oxen and asses and sheep, with the edge of the sword. And one of the sons of Achimelech, the son of Achiatub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after Doeg. And Abiathar showed Doeg that Shaul had slain Yahuah's Kohen. And Doeg said unto Abiathar, I knew it that day, when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Shaul, I have occasioned the death of all the persons of your father's house. Abide with you me. Fear not, for he that seeks my life seeks your life. But with me you shall be in safeguard. Chapter 23. Then they told Doeg, saying, Behold, the Pelishti fight against Keilah, and they rob the threshing floors. Therefore Doeg inquired of Yahuah, saying, Shall I go and smite these Pelishti? And Yahuah said unto Doeg, Go and smite the Pelishti, and save Keilah. And Doeg's men said unto him, Behold, we be afraid here in Yehudah. How much more then if we come to Keilah against the armies of the Pelishti? Then Doeg inquired of Yahuah yet again, and Yahuah answered him and said, Arise, go down to Keilah, for I will deliver the Pelishti into your hand. So Doeg and his men went to Keilah and fought with the Pelishti, and brought away their cattle, and smote them with a great slaughter. So Doeg saved the inhabitants of Keilah. And it came to pass, when Abiathar, the son of Achimelech, fled to Doeg in Keilah, that he came down with an ephod in his hand. And it was told Shaul that Doeg was come to Keilah. And Shaul said, Elohim has delivered him into mine hand, for he is shut in by entering into a town that has gates and bars. And Shaul called all the people together to war to go down to Keilah to besiege Doeg and his men. And Doeg knew that Shaul secretly practiced mischief against him, and he said to Abiathar the Kohen, Bring hither the ephod. Then said Doeg, O Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel, your servant has certainly heard that Shaul seeks to come to Keilah to destroy the city for my sake. Will the men of Keilah deliver me up into his hand? Will Shaul come down, as your servant has heard? O Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel, I beseech you, tell your servant. And Yahuah said, He will come down. Then said Doeg, Will the men of Keilah deliver me and my men into the hand of Shaul? And Yahuah said, They will deliver you up. Then Doeg and his men, which were about 600, arose and departed out of Keilah, and went whithersoever they could go. And it was told Shaul that Doeg was escaped from Keilah, and he forbare to go forth. And Doeg abode in the wilderness in strongholds, and remained in a mountain in the wilderness of Ziph. And Shaul sought him every day, but Elohim delivered him not into his hand. And Doeg saw that Shaul was come out to seek his life, and Doeg was in the wilderness of Ziph in a wood. And Jehonathan, Shaul's son, arose and went to Doeg in the wood, and strengthened his hand in Elohim. And he said unto him, Fear not, for the hand of Shaul my father shall not find you, and you shall be king over Yasharel, and I shall be next unto you, and that also Shaul my father knows. And they two made a covenant before Yahuah, and Doeg abode in the wood, and Jehonathan went to his house. Then came up the Ziphi to Shaul to Gibah, saying, Does not Doeg hide himself with us in strongholds in the wood, in the hill of Hakilah, which is on the south of Yeshimon? Now therefore, O king, come down according to all the desire of your soul to come down, and our part shall be to deliver him into the king's hand. And Shaul said, Blessed be you of Yahuah, for you have compassion on me. Go, I pray you, prepare yet, and know, and see his place where his haunt is, and who has seen him there, for it is told me that he deals very subtly. See therefore, and take knowledge of all the lurking places where he hides himself, and come you again to me with the certainty that I will go with you, and it shall come to pass, if he be in the land, that I will search him out throughout all the thousands of Yehudah. And they arose and went to Ziph before Shaul. But David and his men were in the wilderness of Maon, in the plain on the south of Yeshimon. Shaul also and his men went to seek him. And they told David, wherefore he came down into a rock, and abode in the wilderness of Maon. And when Shaul heard that, he pursued after David in the wilderness of Maon. And Shaul went on this side of the mountain, and David and his men on that side of the mountain. And David made haste to get away for fear of Shaul, for Shaul and his men compassed David and his men round about to take them. But there came a messenger unto Shaul, saying, Haste you, and come, for the Pelishti have invaded the land. Wherefore Shaul returned from pursuing after David, and went against the Pelishti. Therefore they called that place Selach Hamachlekoth. And David went up from thence, and dwelt in strongholds at En Gedi. Chapter 24. And it came to pass, when Shaul was returned from following the Pelishti, that it was told him, saying, Behold, David is in the wilderness of En Gedi. Then Shaul took 3,000 chosen men out of all Yasharel, and went to seek David and his men upon the rocks of the wild goats. And he came to the sheepcotes by the way, where there was a cave, and Shaul went in to cover his feet, and David and his men remained in the sides of the cave. And the men of David said unto him, Behold the day of which Yahuah said unto you, Behold, I will deliver your enemy into your hand, that you may do to him as it shall seem good unto you. Then David arose and cut off the skirt of Shaul's robe privily. And it came to pass afterward that David's heart smote him, because he had cut off Shaul's skirt. And he said unto his men, Yahuah forbid that I should do this thing unto my master, Yahuah's Mashiach, to stretch forth mine hand against him, seeing he is the Mashiach of Yahuah. So David stayed his servants with these words, and suffered them not to rise against Shaul. But Shaul rose up out of the cave, and went on his way. David also arose afterward, and went out of the cave, and cried after Shaul, saying, My lord the king! And when Shaul looked behind him, David stooped with his face to the earth, and bowed himself. And David said to Shaul, Wherefore hear you men's words, saying, Behold, David seeks your hurt? Behold, this day your eyes have seen how that Yahuah had delivered you into mine hand in the cave, and some bade me kill you, but mine eye spared you. And I said, I will not put forth mine hand against my Lord, for he is Yahuah's Mashiach. Moreover, my father, see the skirt of your robe in my hand, for in that I cut off the skirt of your robe, and killed you not, know you and see that there is neither evil nor transgression in mine hand, and I have not sinned against you, yet you hunt my soul to take it. Yahuah judge between me and you, and Yahuah avenge me of you, but mine hand shall not be upon you. And said the proverb of the ancients, Wickedness proceeds from the wicked, but mine hand shall not be upon you. After whom is the king of Yasharel come out? After whom do you pursue? After a dead dog, after a flea? And Yahuah therefore be judge, and judge between me and you, and see, and plead my cause, and deliver me out of your hand. And it came to pass, when David had made an end of speaking these words unto Shaul, that Shaul said, Is this your voice, my son David? And Shaul lifted up his voice and wept. And he said to David, You are more righteous than I, for you have rewarded me good, whereas I have rewarded you evil. And you have showed this day how that you have dwelt well with me, for as much as when Yahuah had delivered me into your hand, you killed me not. For if a man find his enemy, will he let him go well away? Wherefore Yahuah reward you good for that you have done unto me this day. And now, behold, I know well that you shall surely be king, and that the kingdom of Yasharel shall be established in your hand. Swear now therefore unto me by Yahuah, that you will not cut off my seed after me, and that you will not destroy my name out of my father's house. And David swore unto Shaul. And Shaul went home, but David and his men gat them up unto the hold. Chapter 25. And Shemuel died, and all the Yasharel were gathered together, and lamented him, and buried him in his house at Ramah. And David arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran. And there was a man in Maon whose possessions were in Carmel, and the man was very great. And he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep in Carmel. Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail, and she was a woman of good understanding, and of a beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was of the house of Caleb. And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep. And David sent out 10 young men, and David said unto the young men, Get you up to Carmel, and go to Nabal, and greet him in my name. And thus shall you say to him that lives in prosperity, Peace be both to you, and peace be to your house, and peace be unto all that you have. And now I have heard that you have shearers. Now your shepherds which were with us, we hurt them not, neither was there aught missing unto them, all the while they were in Carmel. Ask your young men, and they will show you. Wherefore let the young men find favor in your eyes, for we come in a good day. Give, I pray you, whatsoever comes to your hand unto your servants, and to your son David. And when David's young men came, they spoke to Nabal according to all those words in the name of David, and ceased. And Nabal answered David's servants and said, Who is David? And who is the son of Yishai? There be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. Shall I then take my bread, and my water, and my flesh that I have killed for my shearers, and give it unto men, whom I know not whence they be? So David's young men turned their way, and went again, and came and told him all those sayings. And David said unto his men, Gird you on every man his sword. And they girded on every man his sword. And David also girded on his sword. And there went up after David about 400 men, and 200 abode by the stuff. But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, Behold, David sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master, and he railed on them. But the men were very good unto us, and we were not hurt, neither missed we anything, as long as we were conversant with them, when we were in the fields. They were a wall unto us, both by night and day, all the while we were with them, keeping the sheep. Now therefore know and consider what you will do. For evil is determined against our master, and against all his household, for he is such a son of Belial that a man cannot speak to him. Then Abigail made haste, and took 200 loaves, and 2 bottles of wine, and 5 sheep ready dressed, and 5 measures of parched corn, and 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on asses. And she said unto her servants, Go on before me, behold, I come after you. But she told not her husband Nabal. And it was so, as she rode on the ass, that she came down by the covert on the hill, and behold, David and his men came down against her, and she met them. Now David had said, Surely in vain have I kept all that this fellow has in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that pertained unto him, and he has requited me evil for good. So, and more also do Elohim unto the enemies of David. If I leave of all that pertain to him by the morning light any that pisses against the wall. And when Abigail saw David, she hasted, and lighted off the ass, and fell before David on her face, and bowed herself to the ground, and fell at his feet, and said, Upon me, my lord, upon me let this iniquity be, and let your handmaid, I pray you, speak in your audience, and hear the words of your handmaid. Let not, my lord, I pray you, regard this man of Belial, even Nabal, for as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, your handmaid, saw not the young men of my lord, whom you did send. Now therefore, my lord, as Yahuah lives, and as your soul lives, seeing Yahuah has withholden you from coming to shed blood, and from avenging yourself with your own hand, now let your enemies, and they that seek evil to my lord, be as Nabal. And now this blessing which your handmaid has brought unto my lord, let it even be given unto the young men that follow my lord. I pray you, forgive the trespass of your handmaid, for Yahuah will certainly make my lord a sure house, because my lord fights the battles of Yahuah, and evil has not been found in you all your days. Yet a man is risen to pursue you, and to seek your soul. But the soul of my Lord shall be bound in the bundle of life with Yahuah your Elohim, and the souls of your enemies, them that he sling out as out of the middle of a sling. And it shall come to pass, when Yahuah shall have done to my Lord according to all the good that he has spoken concerning you, and shall have appointed you ruler over Yasharel, that this shall be no grief unto you, nor offense of heart unto my Lord, either that you have shed blood causeless, or that my Lord has avenged himself. But when Yahuah shall have dealt well with my Lord, then remember your handmaid. And David said to Abigail, Blessed be Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel, which sent you this day to meet me. And blessed be your advice, and blessed be you, which have kept me this day from coming to shed blood, and from avenging myself with mine own hand. For in very deed, as Yahuah Elohim of Yasharel lives, which has kept me back from hurting you, except you had hasted and come to meet me, surely there had not been left unto Nabal by the morning light any that pisses against the wall. So David received of her hand that which she had brought him, and said unto her, Go up in peace to your house. See, I have hearkened to your voice, and have accepted your person. And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast in his house, like the feast of a king. And Nabal's heart was very merry within him, for he was very drunken. Wherefore she told him nothing, less or more, until the morning light. But it came to pass in the morning, when the wine was gone out of Nabal, and his wife had told him these things, that his heart died within him, and he became as a stone. And it came to pass about 10 days after, that Yahuah smote Nabal, that he died. And when David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Blessed be Yahuah, that has pleaded the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal, and has kept his servant from evil. For Yahuah has returned the wickedness of Nabal upon his own head. And David sent and communed with Abigail to take her to him to wife. And when the servants of David were come to Abigail to Carmel, they spoke unto her, saying, David sent us unto you, to take you to him to wife. And she arose, and bowed herself on her face to the earth, and said, Behold, let your handmaid be a servant to wash the feet of the servants of my Lord. And Abigail hasted, and arose, and rode upon an ass with 5 damsels of hers that went after her. And she went after the messengers of David, and became his wife. David also took Achih and Noam of Israel, and they were also both of them his wives. But Shaul had given Michal his daughter, David's wife, to Palti, the son of Laish, which was of Galim. Chapter 26. And the Ziphi came unto Shaul to Geba, saying, Does not David hide himself in the hill of Hachilah, which is before Yeshimon? And Shaul arose and went down to the wilderness of Ziph, having 3,000 chosen men of Yasharel with him, to seek David in the wilderness of Ziph. And Shaul pitched in the hill of Hachilah, which is before Yeshimon, by the way. But David abode in the wilderness, and he saw that Shaul came after him unto the wilderness. And David therefore sent out spies, and understood that Shaul was come in very deed. And David arose, and came to the place where Shaul had pitched. And David beheld the place where Shaul lay. And Abner, the son of Ner, the captain of his host, and Shaul lay in the trench, and the people pitched round about him. Then answered David, and said to Achimelech the Hittite, and to Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, brother of Joab, saying, Who will go down with me to Shaul to the camp? And Abishai said, I will go down with you. So David and Abishai came to the people by night, and behold, Shaul lay sleeping within the trench, and his spear stuck in the ground at his bolster. But Abner and the people lay round about him. Then said Abishai to David, Elohim has delivered your enemy into your hand this day. Now therefore let me smite him, I pray you, with the spear, even to the earth at once, and I will not smite him the second time. And David said to Abishai, Destroy him not, for who can stretch forth his hand against Yahuah's Mashiach and be guiltless? David said furthermore, As Yahuah lives, Yahuah shall smite him, or this day shall come to die, for he shall descend into battle and perish. Yahuah forbid that I should stretch forth mine hand against the Yahuah's Mashiach. But I pray you, take you now the spear that is at his bolster, and the cruse of water, and let us go. So Dawid took the spear and the cruse of water from Shaul's bolster, and they gat them away, and no man saw it, nor knew it, neither awaked, for they were all asleep, because a deep sleep from Yahuah was fallen upon them. Then Dawid went over to the other side, and stood on the top of a hill afar off, a great space being between them. And Dawid cried to the people, and to Abner the son of Ner, saying, Answer you not, Abner? Then Abner answered and said, Who are you that cry to the king? And Dawid said to Abner, Are you not a valiant man? And who is like to you in Yasharel? Wherefore then have you not kept your lord the king? For there came one of the people in to destroy the king your lord. This thing is not good that you have done. As Yahuah lives, you are worthy to die, because ye have not kept your master, Yahuah's Mashiach. And now see where the king's spear is, and the cruse of water that was at his bolster. And Shaul knew Dawid's voice, and said, Is this your voice, my son Dawid? And Dawid said, It is my voice, my lord, O king. And he said, Wherefore does my lord thus pursue after his servant? For what have I done? Or what evil is in mine hand? Now therefore I pray you, let my lord the king hear the words of his servant. If Yahuah have stirred you up against me, let him accept an offering. But if they be the children of men, cursed be they before Yahuah, for they have driven me out this day from abiding in the inheritance of Yahuah, saying, Go serve other gods. Now therefore, let not my blood fall to the earth before the face of Yahuah. For the king of Yasharel is come out to seek a flea, as when one does hunt a partridge in the mountains. Then said Shaul, I have sinned. Return, my son Dawid, for I will no more do you harm, because my soul was precious in your eyes this day. Behold, I have played the fool, and have erred exceedingly. And Dawid answered and said, Behold, the king's spear, and let one of the young men come over and fetch it. Yahuah render to every man his righteousness and his faithfulness, for Yahuah delivered you into my hand today. But I would not stretch forth mine hand against Yahuah's Mashiach. And behold, as your life was much set by this day in mine eyes, so let my life be much set by in the eyes of Yahuah, and let him deliver me out of all tribulation. Then Shaul said to Dawid, Blessed be you, my son Dawid. You shall both do great things, and also shall still prevail. So Dawid went on his way, and Shaul returned to his place. Chapter 27. And Dawid said in his heart, I shall now perish one day by the hand of Shaul. There is nothing better for me than that I should speedily escape into the land of the Pelishti. And Shaul shall despair of me, to seek me any more in any coast of Yasharel. So shall I escape out of his hand. And Dawid arose, and he passed over with 600 men that were with him into Achish, the son of Maok, king of Gath. And Dawid dwelt with Achish at Gath, he and his men, every man with his household, even Dawid with his 2 wives, Achinoam the Yisraelith, and Abigail the Carmelite, Nabal's wife. And it was told Shaul that Dawid was fled to Gath, and he sought no more again for him. And Dawid said unto Achish, If I have now found grace in your eyes, let them give me a place in some town in the country, that I may dwell there. For why should your servant dwell in the royal city with you? Then Achish gave him Tsiklag that day, wherefore Tsiklag pertains unto the kings of Yehudah unto this day. And the time that Dawid dwelt in the country of the Pelishti was a full year and 4 months. And Dawid and his men went up and invaded the Geshuri and the Gizri and the Amaleki. For those nations were of old the inhabitants of the land, as you go to Shur, even unto the land of Mitzrayim. And Dawid smote the land, and left neither man nor woman alive, and took away the sheep, and the oxen, and the asses, and the camels, and the apparel, and returned, and came to Achish. And Achish said, Whither have you made a road today? And Dawid said, Against the south of Yehudah, and against the south of the Yerachmeeli, and against the south of the Caani. And David saved neither man nor woman alive, to bring tidings to Gath, saying, lest they should tell on us, saying, so did David, and so will be his manner all the while he dwells in the country of the Pelishti. And Achish believed David, saying, he has made his people Yasharel utterly to abhor him, therefore he shall be my servant forever. Chapter 28. And it came to pass in those days that the Pelishti gathered their armies together for warfare to fight with Yasharel. And Achish said unto David, know you assuredly that you shall go out with me to battle, you and your men. And David said to Achish, surely you shall know what your servant can do. And Achish said to David, therefore will I make you keeper of mine head forever. Now Shemuel was dead, and all Yasharel had lamented him, and buried him in Ramah, even in his own city. And Shaul had put away those that had familiar spirits, and the wizards out of the land. And the Pelishti gathered themselves together, and came and pitched in Shunem. And Shaul gathered all Yasharel together, and they pitched in Gilboa. And when Shaul saw the host of the Pelishti, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled. And when Shaul inquired of Yahuah, Yahuah answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. Then said Shaul unto his servants, seek me a woman that has a familiar spirit, that I may go to her, and inquire of her. And his servants said to him, behold, there is a woman that has a familiar spirit at Ain door. And Shaul disguised himself, and put on other raiment, and he went, and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night, and he said, I pray you, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring him up, whom I shall name unto you. And the woman said unto him, behold, you know what Shaul has done, how he has cut off those that have familiar spirits, and the wizards out of the land. Wherefore then lay you a snare for my life to cause me to die? And Shaul swore to her by Yahuah, saying, as Yahuah lives, there shall no punishment happen to you for this thing. Then said the woman, whom shall I bring up unto you? And he said, bring me up Shemuel. And when the woman saw Shemuel, she cried with a loud voice. And the woman spoke to Shaul, saying, why have you deceived me? For you are Shaul. And the king said unto her, be not afraid, for what saw you? And the woman said unto Shaul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth. And he said unto her, what form is he of? And she said, an old man comes up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Shaul perceived that it was Shemuel, and he stooped with his face to the ground, and bowed himself. And Shemuel said to Shaul, why have you disquieted me to bring me up? And Shaul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Pelishti make war against me, and Elohim is departed from me, and answer me no more, neither by prophets, nor by dreams. Therefore I have called you, that you may make known unto me what I shall do. Then said Shemuel, wherefore then do you ask of me, seeing Yahuah is departed from you, and is become your enemy? And Yahuah has done to him as he spoke by me, for Yahuah has rent the kingdom out of your hand, and given it to your neighbor, even to David. Because you obeyed not the voice of Yahuah, nor executed his fierce wrath upon Amalek, therefore has Yahuah done this thing unto you this day. Moreover, Yahuah will also deliver Yasharel with you into the hand of the Pelishti, and tomorrow shall you and your sons be with me. Yahuah also shall deliver the host of Yasharel into the hand of the Pelishti. Then Shaul fell straightway along on the earth, and was sore afraid, because of the words of Shemuel, and there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no bread all the day, nor all the night. And the woman came unto Shaul, and saw that he was sore troubled, and said unto him, behold, your handmaid has obeyed your voice, and I have put my life in my hand, and have hearkened unto your words which you spoke unto me. Now therefore I pray you, hearken you also unto the voice of your handmaid, and let me set a morsel of bread before you, and eat, that you may have strength when you go on your way. But he refused, and said, I will not eat. But his servants, together with the woman, compelled him, and he hearkened unto their voice. So he arose from the earth, and sat upon the bed. And the woman had a fat calf in the house, and she hasted and killed it, and took flour, and kneaded it, and did bake unleavened bread thereof. And she brought it before Shaul and before his servants, and they did eat. Then they rose up and went away that night. Chapter 29. Now the Pelishti gathered together all their armies to Aphek, and the Yasharel pitched by a fountain which is in Yisrael. And the lords of the Pelishti passed on by hundreds and by thousands. But David and his men passed on in the rearward with Achish. Then said the princes of the Pelishti, What do these Ibri here? And Achish said unto the princes of the Pelishti, Is not this David, the servant of Shaul, the king of Yasharel, which has been with me these days, or these years, and I have found no fault in him since he fell unto me unto this day? And the princes of the Pelishti were wroth with him. And the princes of the Pelishti said unto him, Make this fellow return, that he may go again to his place which you have appointed him, and let him not go down with us to battle, lest in the battle he be an adversary to us. For wherewith should he reconcile himself unto his master? Should it not be with the heads of these men? Is not this David, of whom they sang one to another in dances, saying, Shaul slew his thousands, and David his 10,000s? Then Achish called David, and said unto him, Surely as Yahuah lives, you have been upright, and your going out and your coming in with me in the host is good in my sight. For I have not found evil in you since the day of your coming unto me unto this day. Nevertheless, the Lords favor you not. Wherefore now return and go in peace, that you displease not the lords of the Pelishti. And David said unto Achish, But what have I done? And what have you found in your servant so long as I have been with you unto this day, that I may not go fight against the enemies of my lord the king? And Achish answered and said to David, I know that you are good in my sight, as an angel of Elohim. Notwithstanding, the princes of the Pelishti have said, He shall not go up with us to the battle. Wherefore, now rise up early in the morning with your master's servants that are come with you, and as soon as you be up early in the morning and have light, depart. So David and his men rose up early to depart in the morning, to return into the land of the Pelishti. And the Pelishti went up to Yisrael. Chapter 30. And it came to pass, when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the third day, that the Amaleki had invaded the south, and Ziklag had smitten Ziklag and burned it with fire, and had taken the women captive that were therein. They slew not any, either great or small, but carried them away, and went on their way. So David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken captives. Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voice and wept until they had no more power to weep. And David's 2 wives were taken captives, Achinoam the Yisraelith, and Abigail the wife of Nabal the Carmeli. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David encouraged himself in Yahuah his Elohim. And David said to Abiathar the Kohen, Achimelech's son, I pray you, bring me hither the ephod. And Abiathar brought thither the ephod to David. And David inquired at Yahuah, saying, Shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, Pursue, for you shall surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. So David went, he and the 600 men that were with him, and came to the brook Besor, where those that were left behind stayed. But David pursued, he and 400 men, for 200 abode behind, which were so faint that they could not go over the brook Besor. And they found a Mitzri man in the field, and brought him to David, and gave him bread, and he did eat, and they made him drink water. And they gave him a piece of a cake of figs, and 2 clusters of raisins. And when he had eaten, his spirit came again to him, for he had eaten no bread, nor drunk any water 3 days and 3 nights. And David said unto him, To whom belong you, and whence are you? And he said, I am a young man of Mitzrayim, servant to an Amaleki, and my master left me, because 3 days agone I fell sick. We made an invasion upon the south of the Kerathi, and upon the coast which belongs to Yehuda, and upon the south of Caleb, and we burned Ziklag with fire. And David said to him, Can you bring me down to this company? And he said, Swear unto me by Elohim, that you will neither kill me nor deliver me into the hands of my master, and I will bring you down to this company. And when he had brought him down, behold, they were spread abroad upon all the earth, eating and drinking and dancing, because of all the great spoil that they had taken out of the land of the Pelishti, and out of the land of Yehuda. And David smote them from the twilight even unto the evening of the next day, and there escaped not a man of them, save 400 young men which rode upon camels, and fled. And David recovered all that the Amalek had carried away, and David rescued his 2 wives. And there was nothing lacking to them, neither small nor great, neither sons nor daughters, neither spoil nor anything that they had taken to them. David recovered all. And David took all the flocks and the herds which they had drove before those other cattle, and said, This is David's spoil. And David came to the 200 men, which were so faint that they could not follow David, whom they had made also to abide at the brook Besor. And they went forth to meet David, and to meet the people that were with him. And when David came near to the people, he saluted them. Then answered all the wicked men, and Ben of Belial of those that went with David, and said, Because they went not with us, we will not give them aught of the spoil that we have recovered, save to every man his wife and his children, that they may lead them away and depart. Then said David, You shall not do so, my brethren, with that which Yahuah has given us, who has preserved us, and delivered the company that came against us into our hand. For who will hearken unto you in this matter? But as his part is that goes down to the battle, so shall his part be that tarries by the stuff. They shall part alike. And it was so from that day forward, and he made it a statute and an ordinance for Yasharel unto this day. And when David came to Ziklag, he sent of the spoil unto the elders of Yehuda, even to his friends, saying, Behold, a present for you of the spoil of the enemies of Yahuah. To them which were in Bethel, and to them which were in South Ramoth Negeb, and to them which were in Yatir, and to them which were in Aroer, and to them which were in Siphmoth, and to them which were in Eshtemoah, and to them which were in Rakal, and to them which were in the cities of Yerachmech Ali, and to them which were in the cities of the Cani, and to them which were in Hormah, and to them which were in Kor Ashan, and to them which were in Athak, and to them which were in Hebron, and to all the places where David himself and his men were wont to haunt. Chapter 31. Now the Pelishti fought against Yasharel, and the men of Yasharel fled from before the Pelishti, and fell down slain in Mount Gilboa. And the Pelishti followed hard upon Shaul and upon his sons. And the Pelishti slew Jehonathan, and Abinadab, and Malchishua, Shaul's sons. And the battle went sore against Shaul, and the archers hit him, and he was sore wounded of the archers. Then said Shaul unto his armor-bearer, Draw your sword, and thrust me through therewith, lest these uncircumcised come and thrust me through, and abuse me. But his armor-bearer would not, for he was sore afraid. Therefore Shaul took a sword and fell upon it. And when his armor-bearer saw that Shaul was dead, he fell likewise upon his sword, and died with him. So Shaul died, and his 3 sons, and his armor-bearer, and all his men, that same day together. And when the men of Yasharel that were on the other side of the valley, and they that were on the other side Yarden, saw that the men of Yasharel fled, and that Shaul and his sons were dead, they forsook the cities and fled, and the Pelishti came and dwelt in them. And it came to pass on the morrow, when the Pelishti came to strip the slain, that they found Shaul and his 3 sons fallen in Mount Gilboa. And they cut off his head, and stripped off his armor, and sent into the land of the Pelishti round about, to publish it in the house of their idols, and among the people. And they put his armor in the house of Ashtaroth, and they fastened his body to the wall of Beth Shean. And when the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead heard of that which the Palestine had done to Shaul, all the valiant men arose and went all night, and took the body of Shaul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Bethshean, and came to Jabesh and burnt them there. And they took their bones and buried them under a tree at Jabesh, and fasted 7 days.